The mighty Iridian Empire. The mighty Iridian Empire enslaved species, conquered galaxies, and fed warriors to arena beasts. But bringing humans into the cages was their greatest, bloodiest mistake. Emperor Cygnus of Iridia shifted in his arena throne, obsidian armor scraping against the chitin of his exoskeleton. His 4 insectoid eyes, narrowed as gladiators of various enslaved races, battled in the pits below. Laser blades sliced into flesh, bones snapped, and shrill alien cries echoed over the spectators' cheers. Blood soaked the sands, nothing remarkable until Cygnus saw the arena master lead in a new fighter, a lean, scared, flat-faced mammal creature called a human. Samuel Taylor, a Marine abducted by slaver scum on a classified op, now stood ready to carve through God knows what alien freak shows to survive in this buzzing hell pit of a coliseum. He gripped a chainsword, sizing up the 4-armed reptilian behemoth in the opposite cage. Samuel pictured burying the wearing adamantium teeth in that scaly throat, painting the sand red, and making these roach people regret not picking an easier match for his first fight. Well, they'd learn, because if Samuel wanted to live to kick E.T.'s ass and get back to Earth, he'd need to turn this arena into an alien butcher shop. The cages opened, and the crowd screeched. The massive reptile barreled at Samuel, swinging 4 swords with murder in its eyes. Time to show these slaving stains what a human could do, or die messy on foreign sand. Samuel charged to meet his foe head-on, chainsword revving, adrenaline surging. One man against nightmares. If he lost, he'd be just another bloody smear for the Iridians' sick entertainment. But if Samuel won, if he could slay every gruesome thing they threw at him, humanity might just stand a chance after all. A bloody victory. Samuel stood over the slain 4-armed reptilian, his chainsword purring and dripping viscera onto the blood-stained arena sands. The crowds roared, stomping and screeching at the gory spectacle of the human's victory. Samuel felt no pride in this butchery, only disgust and a cold fury that he channeled into determination to survive this hellish captivity. Suddenly, a dozen Iridian guards marched into the arena, plasma rifles leveled at Samuel. He tensed, ready for a fight, but they merely formed an escort around him. The guards parted to allow a regally dressed Iridian to approach, larger than the others with an ornate golden crest upon his head. Emperor Cygnus himself. "You fought well, human," Cygnus said, his voice a rasping buzz. "Come with me. We have much to discuss." With rifle barrels at his back, Samuel had no choice but to follow the emperor out of the arena and into the bowels of the Colosseum. They walked through winding corridors until Cygnus led them into a large chamber adorned with intricate carvings and advanced technology. Samuel realized these must be the emperor's private quarters. Cygnus waved the guards away and turned to Samuel, compound eyes glittering. "I have studied your species. Your capacity for violence is only matched by your drive to innovate, to reshape the universe around you. Useful traits. Rare traits. What do you want?" Samuel spat. "Your loyalty, your service. I will appoint you a commander to train my warriors in your tactics. Teach us to fight like humans, and I will spare your world from conquest." Samuel's mind reeled. To protect Earth but doom other worlds to suffer under Iridian oppression. To serve this alien tyrant in the hope of saving his species. Revulsion warred with grim necessity in his gut. "Fine," he growled. "I'll do it, but if you break your word, if you threaten Earth." "You have my oath," Cygnus said. "Now come, meet your new soldiers." The training begins. The emperor led Samuel to a training ground where ranks of Iridian warriors stood at attention. As Samuel surveyed their disciplined stances and high-tech weapons, he realized the monumental task before him and the deadly risks of teaching these conquerors to fight like humans. But Samuel had no choice. He stepped forward to address the assembled warriors, forcing down his disgust to speak in a voice hard as iron. "Listen up. I'm your new commander. Today, your real training begins." As the days wore on, and Samuel drilled the Iridian warriors, Integrating human tactics and strategy into their regimen, he learned more about their society's grim realities. The lower castes, it seemed, lived in squalor and servitude, chafing under the emperor's rule. Quiet whispers spoke of rebellion, of a growing resistance movement that dreamed of overthrowing Cygnus. Samuel saw an opportunity. During training, he took note of two Iridians who seemed discontent with the status quo. Zirax, an engineering prodigy, and Theon, the most skilled fighter of the bunch. Samuel approached them cautiously, building trust through subtle hints and coded phrases. In time, they confirmed their allegiance to the rebellion and their desire to end Cygnus's tyranny. Together, the three began to scheme and plot, discussing how to sabotage the emperor's regime from within. Samuel started funneling sensitive military information to the rebels, while Zirax worked on weakening key infrastructure. Theon recruited more warriors to their cause, building a clandestine army right under Cygnus's nose. But just as their plans began to take shape, an unexpected development shook the galaxy. The sudden arrival of the Quarian Dominion, a rival empire seeking to challenge Iridia's supremacy. Samuel realized that this new threat could either aid their coup or doom it entirely. He would need to tread carefully, navigating a precarious web of alliances and betrayals if humanity was to survive the coming storm. Infiltrating the enemy. As the Quarian warships tore through the void, their weapons primed and aimed at the heart of the Iridian Empire, Emperor Cygnus summoned Samuel to the war room. "Commander," Cygnus rasped, "I am sending you and your elite force to the front lines. You must stop the Quarian advance at all costs." Samuel studied the tactical displays, his brow furrowed. The Quarian ships were sleeker, faster, their technology far superior to anything the Iridians possessed. In a straight fight, they didn't stand a chance. "We can't beat them head-on," Samuel said. "But maybe we don't have to." He zoomed in on the Quarian flagship, a massive dreadnought bristling with weaponry. "If we can infiltrate their command ship and capture their leader, Overlord Zakar, we might be able to force them to retreat." Cygnus's mandibles twitched. A daring plan. "But how do you propose to get aboard their ship undetected?" Samuel grinned. "Leave that to me." He gathered his team, Zirax, Theon, and a handful of his most trusted Iridian warriors, and outlined his plan. They would use a combination of human infiltration tactics and Iridian cloaking tech to slip past the Quarian defenses and board the flagship. As they approached the enemy fleet, Samuel's ship shimmered and vanished from view, the cloaking device rendering them invisible. They drifted closer, undetected, until they reached the flagship's hull. Zirax hacked the airlock controls, and they slipped inside. The corridors of the Quarian ship were dark and alien, lit by pulsing red lights. Samuel and his team moved silently, taking out sentries with quick, brutal efficiency. They fought their way deeper into the ship, towards the Overlord's chambers. When they burst into Zakar's sanctum, the Quarian leader was waiting for them, a cruel smile on his face. "You dare to challenge me, human?" he snarled, drawing a wicked-looking energy blade. Samuel stepped forward, his own weapon humming to life. "Someone has to." They clashed in a whirlwind of sparks and flashing steel. Samuel's human reflexes and training matched against Zakar's alien strength and speed. The battle was fierce, both combatants landing blows that would have felled lesser warriors. But in the end, Samuel's skill and determination won out. He disarmed Zakar with a clever feint and pressed his blade to the Overlord's throat. "Call off your fleet," he growled, "or I'll end this here and now." Zakar, seeing the resolve in Samuel's eyes, had no choice but to comply. The Quarian ships turned and fled, their invasion thwarted. Trust and betrayal. When Samuel returned to Iridia, he was hailed as a hero. Crowds cheered his name, and Emperor Cygnus showered him with praise and honors. The emperor came to rely on Samuel's strategic brilliance more and more, seeking his counsel on every military matter. But even as Samuel's influence grew, he could sense a change in Cygnus. The Emperor grew paranoid, suspicious of Samuel's popularity and the loyalty he commanded among the Iridian warriors. Whispers began to circulate, rumors of the Emperor's displeasure, of his desire to see Samuel's power checked. All the while, Samuel continued his clandestine work with the rebellion, funneling information and resources to Zarax and Theon. They were close now, so close to being ready to strike against Cygnus and his regime. But a new revelation threatened to upend everything. In his investigation, Samuel discovered a terrifying truth. The Quarians had not been acting alone. They were but pawns manipulated by an ancient and malevolent force known as the Void Reavers. These enigmatic beings sought nothing less than the total annihilation of all life in the galaxy. As Samuel grappled with this new knowledge, he knew that the coming days would be the most crucial of his life. The fate of not just humanity, but of every species in the galaxy, hung in the balance. He would need to navigate a treacherous web of alliances, betrayals, and hidden agendas if any of them were to survive the oncoming storm. The Cosmic Hammer. As the revelation of the Void Reaper's existence weighed heavily on Samuel's mind, he delved deeper into the ancient records of the Iridian Empire, searching for any clues that might aid in their defeat. His investigation led him to a remote, desolate planet, where an ancient Iridian temple was said to hold secrets long forgotten. Samuel stepped into the temple's crumbling entrance, his footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. Dust motes danced in the thin beams of light that pierced through the cracks in the walls. He navigated the labyrinthine corridors, his instincts guiding him deeper into the heart of the structure. At last, he reached a hidden chamber, its walls adorned with intricate carvings and glyphs. In the center of the room, a pedestal stood, holding a small pulsing artifact, the Nexus Cipher. The inscriptions called it a key to unlocking an ancient weapon capable of destroying the Void Reavers. Samuel grasped the artifact, feeling its power thrumming beneath his fingers. He knew he could not trust Emperor Cygnus with such a potent device, nor could he allow it to fall into the hands of the Void Reavers. There was only one person he could entrust with the Nexus Cipher, Zarax. "Zarax, I need you to take this," Samuel said, pressing the artifact into the Iridian engineer's hands. "Decipher its secrets, find the location of the ancient weapon. It may be our only hope against the Void Reavers." Zarax nodded solemnly, understanding the gravity of the task before him. But their plans were soon thrown into disarray. Emperor Cygnus's spies had tracked Samuel's movements, reporting his activities at the temple. The Emperor, consumed by paranoia and suspicion, ordered the arrest of Samuel and his allies, tasking the ruthless commander Zephix with their capture. Samuel, Theon, and a handful of rebel fighters barely managed to evade Zephix's forces, fleeing to a hidden base on the Iridian moon of Zephyra. There, they regrouped with Zarax, who had already begun working on deciphering the Nexus Cipher. "I've made progress," Zarax said, his voice tinged with excitement. "The cipher speaks of a weapon hidden in the—" His words were cut short by the blaring of alarms. Commander Zephix had tracked them down, and his forces were launching an all-out assault on the rebel base. The final stand. Explosions rocked the compound as Samuel and his allies scrambled to defend their position. Plasma bolts seared the air, and the cries of the wounded mingled with the roar of battle. Samuel fought alongside Theon, their weapons blazing as they cut down wave after wave of Zephix's soldiers. But the enemy's numbers were too great. The rebels were being overwhelmed, pushed back into the heart of the base. Samuel saw Theon fall, his body riddled with plasma burns. He rushed to his friend's side, cradling him in his arms. "Go," Theon gasped, his life fading. "Get Zarax out. Protect the Nexus Cipher." With a heavy heart, Samuel left Theon behind, fighting his way to Zarax's position. He found the engineer pinned down by enemy fire, clutching the artifact to his chest. "We have to go now," Samuel shouted over the chaos. He provided cover fire as Zarax made a break for the escape pods. Samuel followed close behind, his heart pounding in his chest. They barely made it inside before Zephix's soldiers stormed the hangar. As their pod jettisoned away from the besieged base, Samuel watched the flames consume the place where Theon had fallen. Grief and rage warred within him, tempered only by the steely determination to honor his friend's sacrifice. The Nexus cipher was safe for now, but the fight against the Void Reapers and against Emperor Cygnus's tyranny was far from over. With the rebel base in flames and Zarax flooded with the Nexus cipher, Samuel gathered the battered remnants of his rebel force. They piled into battered transports, still trading plasma fire with Zephix's soldiers as they blasted off from Zephyr's blood-soaked surface. Samuel's mind raced, trying to formulate a plan. Set course for the Quarren homeworld. He ordered the pilot, a grizzled Iridian veteran named Rexus. It's time for some unlikely allies. Rexus's compound eyes widened. The Quarians? Are you mad? They'll blast us out of the sky. We have to try, Samuel said grimly. The Iridians are too powerful. We need help to take them down. The journey through hyperspace was tense, everyone on edge, expecting to be instantly annihilated upon arrival. But when they dropped out of light speed above the Quarren capital, no plasma rained down on them. Samuel hailed the palace. This is Commander Samuel Taylor of the Iridian Rebellion. I request an audience with Overlord Zakir. A long pause, then a voice, cold and imperious. Land in hangar Z-99. Any deviation, and you will be destroyed. Samuel set the transport down warily, Rexus and the others fingering their weapons. A contingent of Quarren guards surrounded them as they disembarked, leading them into the palace at blaster point. In the throne room, Overlord Zakir reclined on his obsidian seat, regarding Samuel with glittering orange eyes. You have gall, human, coming here after killing my brother. Your brother was a tyrant, Samuel said. Like the Iridians, I'm here to propose an alliance. Zakir leaned forward. And why should I ally with rebels and anarchists? Samuel held up a data chip. Because we have the key to defeating the Void Reapers, the Nexus cipher. It can activate a weapon to destroy them. But we need your ships and soldiers to assault the Iridian capital. Zakir stroked his scaled chin. This cipher could also secure Quarian dominance once the Void Reapers and Iridians are dealt with. Very well, human. You have your alliance. For now. As the Quarren warships made ready to strike at Zephyr, Samuel received an encrypted message from Zarax. The Nexus cipher had revealed the location of the ancient weapon, the Celestial Forge, lost for millennia, and the key to activating it, the Cosmic Hammer, capable of turning back even the Void Reaper hordes. Samuel looked up at the sky, where distant shapes were descending through the clouds, the vanguard of the Void Reaper fleet. There was no time to lose. Set course for the Celestial Forge, he ordered, his voice hard as steel. We have a weapon to claim and a galaxy to save. As the rebel fleet blasted into the stars, the Void Reapers descended on Zephyr, devouring all in their path. The war had only just begun, and the fate of every species hung in the balance. The Celestial Forge. In the Celestial Forge's ancient halls, Samuel and Zarax raced against time, following the Nexus cipher's clues through crumbling corridors and past long-dead guardians. Traps and trials lay at every turn, the facility's builders having spared no effort to protect their ultimate creation. But Samuel's quick wits and Zarax's technical brilliance saw them through until at last they stood in the Cosmic Hammer's vault. The weapon was a marvel of ancient engineering, a colossal construct of gleaming metal and pulsing energy conduits. Its power, Zarax said, is unimaginable, the concentrated might of a supernova harnessed and directed. As Samuel reached out to cling the hammer's controls, a chill ran down his spine. The responsibility was staggering, the potential for destruction terrifying. But with the Void Reapers carving a path of annihilation through the galaxy, there was no choice. He had to wield this power, had to use it to save everything he held dear. Samuel's fingers closed around the activation lever. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. The hammer hummed to life, ancient mechanisms stirring, energy building to a crescendo. The power of the cosmos itself bent to the will of one human soldier. It was time to turn the tide, to bring the fight to the Void Reapers. Samuel would wield the cosmic hammer like a modern-day god of war, raining destruction on the devourers of worlds. And if he fell in the process, so be it. He would gladly give his life to see the galaxy freed from the Void Reaper threat, for he was Samuel Taylor, champion of the Iridian Rebellion, wielder of the Nexus Cipher, and he would not rest until the stars were safe once more. As Samuel's fingers closed around the cosmic hammer's activation lever, the ancient weapon hummed to life. Arcane mechanisms stirred from their long slumber, energy pulsing through its conduits, building to a crescendo of raw power waiting to be unleashed. Samuel could feel the weight of the galaxy's fate resting on his shoulders. But as the hammer systems came online, alarms blared through the celestial forge's halls. Zerax rushed to the control panel. His compound eyes widened in dismay. "The weapon requires an immense power source," he said, mandibles clicking in agitation. "More than anything we have available." Samuel joined him at the panel, scanning the readouts. "What about that neutron star nearby? Could we harness its energy?" Zerax chittered thoughtfully. "Possibly, but we'd need a massive collector array and a series of relays to channel the power safely. And we're running out of time." Samuel slammed his fist on the console. "Then that's what we'll do. We've come too far to fail now." They gathered the remaining Iridian and Quarren engineers, dividing them into teams to tackle the monumental task. Some set to work constructing the collector array, a vast network of panels and conduits designed to withstand the neutron star's intense radiation. Others focused on the relay system, carefully calibrating each component to ensure a stable energy flow. As they labored, reports from the battle above streamed in, each more dire than the last. The Void Reaper fleet tore through the Allied forces, their advanced ships shrugging off attacks and retaliating with devastating precision. The fleet commander's voice crackled over the comms, strained and desperate. "We can't hold them much longer. Whatever you're doing down there, you need to do it fast." In a final desperate gambit, the commander ordered a series of kamikaze attacks, smaller ships piloted by brave volunteers hurling themselves at the Void Reaper dreadnoughts, sacrificing themselves to create openings for the main fleet to exploit. Explosions lit the void as the kamikaze ships detonated, the Allies surging forward in their wake to strike at the momentarily vulnerable Void Reapers.